Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Wundertalks, where we ask questions no one's asking about the Pakistani advertising, marketing and the creative production industries. In Wundertalks today, we have with us one of Pakistani advertising industry's most qualified and dignified executive creative directors with not one but two international qualifications, Fulbright and Chevening. It is not wrong to say that Sadia Qutubuddin truly believes in the phrase, "We're always learning." So Sadia, welcome to Wundertalks.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. It's great. How true is that statement that we're students for life?
Firstly, I'm really happy that I'm here, and thank you for having me on this show. I think that's very true. I think we're all always learning, especially in the creative field. There are so many new ideas that people are coming out with, new ways of expressing the same idea, even if it's not a new idea, new types of media. So one is constantly learning and one is constantly trying to keep abreast of what's happening in the world.
Do you think that our marketers have learned to appreciate the creative talent in Pakistan more than they would have, let's say, 5 years ago or 10 years from now?
I think yes, like I'm seeing a definite trend towards valuing and appreciating local creative talent. Also because I think they're now wisening up to the fact, clients are wisening up to the fact that local creative talent has the right insights. That you need to make a successful campaign, that you need to come up with an idea that will click with the people, that will relate better. So there are still some clients that lean towards, let's say, great Indian creative directors or other foreign creative directors, and they undoubtedly have a huge amount of talent, but slowly and surely I am seeing the shift towards appreciating local creative talent.
So our clients, do you think, our marketers here, do you think there is virtue in the fact that they look for inspiration from the other side rather than concentrating within Pakistan, and when it comes to creative ideas exclusively? So do you think there is meaning in that, or rather is it just a mentality, or is it just a bad habit?
That's a great question, and I think there is merit in that.
Okay.
I think there is merit in that, not just for clients but for creatives as well. See, we just talked about learning, right? And there's a lot to learn from the Indian ad industry, the Indian film industry, and also the American ad industry, the Korean ad industry, the Thai ad industry. Creative ideas can come from anywhere, and if people outside of Pakistan are doing great work, then why not look at it?
But do they have to come from YouTube, India, and not anywhere else?
What you're saying is right, that because Indians more or less, they have the same language or the same kind of family setups, they look the same as we do to a large extent. So clients as well as creatives tend to look at Indian ads more. But it goes beyond that. I think Indian ads are very good at expressing emotion, at bringing out the nuances in a certain scene. That is something that we can learn from. Not to say that does not happen in the Pakistani market. I think our Pakistani television dramas are amazing in terms of relationship enhancement and nuances, acting. Those things are great in our Pakistani dramas as well. But somehow or the other, it's an easy also go-to YouTube. That you look at YouTube, you look at how they narrate a story within like 30 seconds or 60 seconds, and they do a great job of it. So it's good to learn from them, but I'm not saying that we should copy them or we should not value our local talent. But creativity has no borders. I think you should learn from India, from America, from UK, from Thailand, from Korea, wherever you can get a great idea from.
So Sadia, the influence of YouTube, rather YouTube India or Indian creative ads on our marketers. Do you think that because it influences them to ask for envisioning the campaign, their own campaigns in, let's say, exactly the same way? So how does that affect the creative process, and how does that bode for the creatives?
A great question again. The answer is not so black and white, because there are some clients, some marketers who do that and some who don't do that. And the marketers who do that, like who very rarely have I come across somebody who says that, okay, here's this ad and you need to make this exactly like this ad. That has not happened in my experience. They do sometimes, call our attention to a few Indian ads or even foreign ads like American ads, etc., or British ads that they feel are good examples or that have handled their kind of problem really well. Like I said, no black and white answers. Sometimes it really helps. Sometimes it opens a new box in your head, like, oh my God, I didn't think of it like this. Like, this is such a great way of expressing the same idea. I was stuck in a rut. And thank you, this really helped me. And sometimes it does put you in a box. That, okay, this is so emotional, but your product is not very, like it needs a more tactical approach. It doesn't need a very theme-based approach. But then you go and talk to the client about it and you explain it to them. And in my experience, they understand that, the exact, everything can't fit into what they have in their heads.
Exactly.
It's like when you're selecting a mate for yourself, like you have a checklist and you say that, okay, I want this kind of a guy. But when you actually meet a person and you like that person, you like this, he doesn't check all the boxes, but he suits me. So I guess it's the same on the marketer side also. This is what we want. But then when we present a concept to them, which is not exactly like that, but it suits their problem better, it solves their problem better, they're like, yeah, this is it. This works.
So they say a great client brief influences a great outcome, a great creative outcome. So, but then do you think there is rather a shifting trend or a continuous trend for creatives to follow a certain brief and by influencing them from, let's say, again, across the border or any other country, rather than thinking on their part that they need to do the same? So don't you think that clients owe it to themselves to be as creative in their thinking and in their processes as the creative that they demand from?
Yes, that is again a great question. Yeah, it's common sense. Like if let's suppose I'm the client or I'm the marketer and I have a certain ad in mind that has been made by American creatives for the American market and has been made using all the production gloss and technology that is available to the Americans or Britishers or wherever, and then I want to replicate that for my brand in the Pakistani market, and I want a Pakistani creative agency to do that for me, then as a client, I need to keep that kind of an open mind also.
Do you think that we truly understand the power of being Pakistani as creatives? And do you think that guides us towards building a better creative philosophy? Because we've seen a dearth of rather non-existent creative philosophies in Pakistan. Every country has its own creative language, whether visual or philosophical. So you talk about Scandinavian design, and then you talk about these philosophies, and then you talk about, let's say, different agencies, international agencies. They have their own tools to guide the creative process. Call it Big Ideal from Ogilvy or etc. etc. So do you think that by understanding ourselves as creatives in Pakistan, that we can take a lot from our own cultures and traditions within Pakistan in order to guide the country's creative process and philosophies? Or do you think it will limit us, and rather it's a great thing to, let's say, in contrast, to take ideas from the international community and build a creative philosophy on that?
So, great question again. I think it's the need of the day to find our Pakistani creative voice, and it is. In fact, this links to your first question about limits. I think one of the ways to develop our Pakistani voice is to learn how to do the best work within those limits. Like I think our environment, the environment we're working in today, is still a lot more flexible and open than what it was like in the 80s. And yet some of the best dramas, some of the best music in Pakistan, some of the best advertising also. Like if you look at PIA's advertising of yesteryears, that was brilliant, and that came out during those times. So I don't think that limitations as such, whether it's self-imposed or imposed by marketers or imposed by the culture, the current environment, they should not be used as an excuse, which is the fault of creatives, that we use it as an excuse for not doing better work. But if Iran can do great work, then so can we. If Iran can tell great stories and can have great designs, so can we. So we just have to work harder, I believe. And that's the Pakistani voice, that how do we, by staying within those limits, we shine. You know, how does a girl, by not, again an analogy, by not exposing herself, still appear glamorous and attractive?
True.
You know, that's the Pakistani voice.
Whose responsibility is it to make a great ad? Is it the agency or the client?
It is both. We're one team, we work as one team. So it's both the agency and the client that come up with ultimately, if you see a good ad, I would say it's not just the agency or not just the client, it is 50-50. It's teamwork, and in fact, you know, I've been lucky that wherever I've worked and on whichever brands I've worked, there's always been a fellow feeling that happens. We work as one team. Yes, there are differences, like even in the closest of relationships, you have differences. You don't see eye to eye. But that's the whole process of working towards a brief and trying to solve a problem, that you agree to disagree, and then you reach a middle ground, and then you create something. So it's both, and in fact, sometimes it's the marketers, our clients, that have course corrected us. Like sometimes I am, you know, completely off the grid in my thinking, and they've brought me down to earth that no, Sadia, like this is the real problem, or this is the insight. And I'm like, yeah, they're right. So in fact, a lot of the times the clients have given us the right perspective, because as creatives we get very attached to our work and we're like this close to it and we can't see it clearly. But they have a distance, they have perspective, so they can see clearly what's going on and what's right and what's wrong with the concept. So I really value the client's feedback, and I think that most of the times they're very, very helpful in coming up with the right campaign. You know, it doesn't have to be the best campaign in the world, but the campaign that works for your brand and your brand's problem at that particular moment in time. That's the challenge.
So what makes a great ad? Is it the production quality? Is it the concept? Is it the relatability to the audience, or all of the above?
I love this question. I was thinking about it because it's difficult. Like, of course, I know production quality is last, say, but I couldn't choose between, is it the concept or is it relatability to the audience? Because relatability is directly connected to the insight. You know, have you got the right insight? Will people say, you know, they know me, this is about me. So that's extremely important. But then the concept, the story that you're telling is also supremely important, because I was thinking, we go watch superhero movies and there is little or no relatability sometimes, but you are still engrossed because the storytelling is awesome. So I would say not the how, which is the production, but the what is more important, which is the story, the concept. The concept, relatability to the audience, and then production quality last.
So on that note, I would like to thank you for talking with us.
Thank you for having me on this.
It's been great. And on that note, we'd like to thank Sadia Qutubuddin for talking to us on Wundertalks. For more talks, stay tuned.